This is the one that Joey just printed. So this is the one that Joey just printed. This should be up to date. I'm doing the. What are you doing? Which one are you doing? Great. Yes. Yes. For this one, at least, yeah.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbat.
We had a quick conversation before we got started about whether we should say what we're singing before we were singing it or not. We elected for the not. This is a chant that is traditional to sing in the Tahara liturgy as a group called a Chavra Kadisha, a holy society, gathers around a dead person and sings to their soul. That's what we were all just doing together. My name is Rabbi Joey. Before I say more about death and dying, I should just say quickly, welcome. Welcome to folks who are here on 50th Street. Welcome to people who are joining us on YouTube. Welcome to folks on Zoom as well. I have just the total pleasure of getting to lead today, leading into Zayin Adar, the holiday of the Chavra Kadisha, with Jane Newman and Jake Porter-Cohn, members of our Holy Burial Society at Shir Tikva. We come together today both for Shabbos, but also to mark the beginning of this season of Zayin Adar, which is did you know that Jewish burial societies had our own special holiday? Mm-hmm. We do, and it's the day that traditionally is believed to be the day that Moses died, and also the day that Moses was born. And that's the work that we get to do together today. I think we get to do it because it is Zayin Adar. We get to do it because our Jewish souls are complicated, and we get to do it because we are in this incredibly complicated moment in our cities where there is the beginning of some hope alive. And if you are like me, there is also so much doubt, and so much continued anger and pain. And a question that we as a Chavra Kadisha have been holding over these weeks is, what does it look like to weave our way between the personal loss and the personal mourning experience of people who are losing folks in this community, who are losing people in very hard but also quote unquote normal ways, and the loss that is happening because of political violence here. And my suspicion is that there is wisdom to be had moving between those worlds, that the political and the personal weave together in how we think about and move through grief, that Jewish rituals of death and dying can teach us about how to be in the streets, that singing these songs of chanting over the soul of a beloved dead person might be able to show us what it looks like to chant and to protest. And in all of that, we get to add in and stir in the layer of Shabbos, finding the way that we rest in the midst of the grief. To do that, I'd like to invite up, to begin that process, I'd like to invite up anyone from the Chavra Kadisha who finds themselves here today to help us light the Shabbos candles. You can find the blessing for Shabbat candles on page 2. Micah, will you be our designated lighter? Person trusted with the fire. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Beloved Chavra Kadisha, I get to give you a bracha. And the blessing that I will give you today is that the work of our hands, may it be blessed. May our care work find its way wholly and deep into the Tahara room. And may we know that that work vibrates outward, comforting the mourners and comforting the soul. And finally, may we know that the care that we provide to others will be returned to us in our time, that we will care for each other. We say together, Amen. you all, now we get to sing. Thank you all so, so much. We'll find our way into our davening on page 12.
Sound good.
We'll continue on the next page, page 13. Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru l'Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai, Baruchu Shemo, Basru miyom yayom, Yeshuato. לתפארת במקדשו. ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ים בים ומלואו. יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו, אז ירננו כל עצי יער. לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל וצדק ואמין באמונת. We turn to the final paragraph on page 17, last 3 lines on the page. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu, romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu, romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu le'har kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. We'll turn to our blue sheets, number 1, calling out for the beginning of the untangling that needs to happen in our souls and our chests and our breaths. get to greet Shabbos. We'll turn to page 20, as is the tradition in our community. If you are willing to brave the unseasonably warm weather, you're welcome to rise and move out to our 50th Street side to greet Shabbos, or to turn to any window or any portal that you need in your heart or in your physical space. We'll join together on 20.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לישי בידי תפארתך עמי. היד בן ישי, בית הלוי קרבה אל נשגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ילדי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת קלה, איי 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 בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת קלה, איי 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 בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. נראתי לה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, והיו שיסף שוסייך, ורחקו ממילייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, עם סוס קטן הקלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בלילה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה,
You may remain standing.
On page 28.
Yai la la la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamevorach
We'll turn to page 30. Where we bless a God who brings darkness into this world. My invitation today of all days is to not dwell so deep in the darkness, but to call to your mind a moment where there was light brought to you by someone in community over these last weeks. What did it feel to give or receive that care? Taking a big breath in and out. Umavir yom umehevi laila, umavdil ben yom ben laila, Adonai tzivaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chalenu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Amari v'arari. On page 32, we thank God who brings love into this world. I invite you to bring into your heart and into your mind someone who fills your life with love. Taking a breath in and out. Ki chem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negeh yomam v'layla v'havtacha tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael. I was just sitting with, before services with Daniel Berlin, who will be teaching a class later this spring on the Shema in our community, and we were talking about the tradition to whisper the words of the Shema as the first words that a baby hears when they're entering this world, and whispering the words of the Shema as the last words that a person hears as they're dying, as they're exiting this world. And the through line that I'm feeling there is a through line of communal care. Not so much thinking about those as threshold moments of our own existence, of our own birth and death, but threshold moments that require so many hands and so much love. And my invitation as we say the words of the Shema and the Ve'ahavta are to gather up all the fringes of our experiences of those moments of sustaining and saying goodbye to vital life in this life. I invite folks to root or rise on page 34. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shekevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Folks can be seated on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha V'shinatam levanecha, v'tibarta b'am, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, u'shochbecha u'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'ktavtam Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Hotzeti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Liot Lechem Le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem Emet. We'll turn together to page 40. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef ele, nora tehilot, osef ele, malchutecha rahu banecha, bokei hayam ifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze elianu ve'amru, ana yimloch le'olam va'ed. Hay, 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 ambay, hay, 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 Kifat Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miad gazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai, Ka'al Yisrael. Hay, 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 ambay, hay, 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 get it ambay, hay, 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 hay. We pray for peace and protection and for all good things that start with the letter P. On page 42, we'll daven 3 lines down, thinking about the safety that we need, that our neighbors need. What is the soul work? What is the work of hands and whistles? What's the work of breath and rest that will get us there? Ufros aleinu sukkot, sukkot, shalom lecha, ufros aleinu sukkot, sukkot, shalom lecha. We just sang these words about guarding for protection, guarding each other, guarding our neighbors. On page 44, we make this strange commitment to fiercely guarding rest and Shabbos. And each time, particularly with the melody that's become popular in America that we sing for this, it feels so odd to sing this like rousing march to the prospect of napping. And I think that's what I would invite us to do today. Let us sing this with as much brassness, as much rowdiness as possible, singing to the commitment to take the load off that we need this Shabbos. I'll invite folks to rise or root on page 44. Veshamru Israel et Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Where am I? ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We'll continue on page 46, beginning in song and then going into our silent Amida. page 164. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We'll take this moment to pray for those in our lives and in our community who are in need of healing. I'll invite us to take a breath in, and as we exhale, feel free to say, to speak out, or to speak into your heart the name of anyone that you're praying for today. Today we're praying for.
Lisa Dawn, Mary Hartman.
You sing at the bottom of our blue sheets. I just had this totally earnest thought, which was, wow, we sure do a whole lot of different things together. We care for our dead, we sing, we plant trees, we care for our neighbors, we have cook days. The thing that was landing on me is like, wow, how cool is that? One of the other things we get to do is learn together. And I am so excited to hear these words of Torah from Jake Berger-Cohn.
Hi, all.
Shabbat Shalom.
Excuse me. Oh, that Lechadodi really took it out of my voice. I got to drink some water. My name's Jake Porter Cohen. For visual access, I'm a white person wearing a yellow and blue plaid shirt. I have brown hair and a sort of pseudo mullet. And I am the volunteer coordinator for the Shir Tikva Chevra Kadisha. So when there is a death in the community, Rabbi Joey reaches out to me, and I reach out to all of you. I'm putting a face to names for the first time for some of you, so it's lovely to see you all here. 4 people meet each other at the back of a building in the early morning twilight. They're empty-handed, except for a coffee thermos or 2. They enter together and go down to the basement to a low-ceilinged room that smells of cleaning products and stainless steel. They nod respectfully to a 5th person whose presence they have already felt. The 4 speak a few words of acknowledgement. They recognize that the 5th person is already having a very strange experience, and that what they're about to do will be strange as well. They ask for the person's understanding. They pray to God for strength. And then they undress the 5th person, carefully wash them with warm washcloths, comb their hair, pour water over them, dress them in linen garments, pronounce blessings, and lift them into a straw-lined wooden box. They sing as they work, and they speak only occasionally in a low voice. These 4 know that they will be the last ones to ever look upon the 5th person's face. They place pot shards over their eyes, sprinkle some soil in the casket, and place the lid. They leave walking backwards. They never turn their backs on the deceased. It happened that the first Tahara that I participated in as a Chevra Kadisha volunteer was not long after my partner and I had started providing evening childcare for our infant nephew. Now, I'd never spent too much time around babies, so being entrusted with his care was a new experience for me too. Every Sunday evening around 7:30, my partner and I would watch for the first yawns and eye rubs after a few hours of playtime, and then we would carry him upstairs, clean him and change his diaper, dress him in pajamas and a sleep sack, read a story, and sing. The nursery was dark and warm. We moved quietly and spoke in a still, small voice so as not to disturb a kind of sacred hush in the room. When he closed his eyes, we'd lift him into his crib, watch him sleep for a moment, then tiptoe out and shut the door, feeling the warmth of his tiny body lingering in our arms. I am, of course, not the first person to notice the parallels. As long as humans have been humans, we have buried our dead with rituals of tenderness and honor, hoping that the care we show to their bodies will make their journey into eternity a peaceful one. And as long as humans have been humans, we have held our children close at bedtime, hoping that our songs and stories will give them security and peaceful dreams as they drift off beyond our reach. This is all complicated by the fact that we can't guarantee security or peace. We don't know what experience the 5th person on the table is having, if any. We don't know where our children's minds or ours go when we're asleep. We have no solid understanding of what happens to our consciousness and identity when the seeming sovereignty of self abandons its post, whether in our nightly brush with nothingness or in our final fading into the unknown. The image of a sleeping child, the image of the dead resting peacefully, both arouse tranquility and anxiety simultaneously. We are reminded that safety for our children and dignity for the dead are choices we make and responsibilities that we too often fail. In the face of this vulnerability, we often turn to power for reassurance. Last summer, while we were assembling liturgy for the men's Chevra Kadisha team, at one point our group got stuck on a passage from Song of Songs that's traditionally read during the Tahara. After dressing the deceased and placing him in the casket, the custom is to recite, "Behold the bed of Solomon, encircled by 60 warriors of the warriors of Israel, all of them trained in warfare, skilled in battle, each with sword on thigh because of terror by night." None of us liked this very much. We were uncomfortable with the militarism, with the sudden invocation of violence in the midst of this profoundly gentle ritual. Why were we talking about swords? I realized that I had seen this verse previously in one other place, in the bedtime Shema, the traditional set of prayers that are said just before sleeping. Toward the end of the bedtime Shema, our tradition invokes this image of King Solomon sleeping soundly, surrounded by 60 guards ready to defend against terror by night. Reassurance from power, then, a perimeter of strength, bristling with alertness, surrounding and isolating a core of total vulnerability. As the Torah concludes, as the deceased is placed where they will lie forever, we invoke the same language that we use every night to reassure our own anxious souls of their essential safety. You are safe here, we are trying to say. We will let no harm come to you. Maybe, but I find myself wondering who this passage is really intended for. Behold the bed of Solomon, encircled by 60 warriors of the warriors of Israel, all of them trained in warfare, skilled in battle, each with sword on thigh, because of terror by night. It's not so much about Solomon and his bed as the warriors, isn't it? Terror and danger are givens here. If we accept the claim that the Song of Songs was written by Solomon himself, then what we are seeing is the great king freely admitting his own vulnerability and fear and praising the skill and loyalty of his defenders. Rather, I think the Tahara liturgy is speaking to us, the living, as we complete the work of caring for the beloved dead. The liturgy praises our strength and gives true strength a very precise definition: compassionate, steady presence in the midst of vulnerability. The Chevra volunteers don't really need a reminder of fragility. All of us know that we'll be the ones on that table someday. What we most need is a reminder that we are alive, that we are strong and skillful, and while we are still here, we have a job to do. Max Brumberg-Kraus challenged our working group to get more comfortable with the imagery of defensive strength. There is nothing inherently disempowering about being protected by a beloved, they wrote to us. Not everyone who fights is a dread warrior. Furthermore, they asked, how do we honor our community members and ancestors who have borne witness to God as the watcher, the warrior, even or especially in a community with values of peace and nonviolence? As I've watched my city rally to its own defense against a violent occupation, I've thought often of Max's words, and I found myself warming up to the Bible's often fierce rhetoric about the downfall of enemies and its promise that God will fight for us. It has not been especially difficult these days to recognize vulnerability, my own and others. The failures of care and compassion and the perversion of strength into cruelty have been all too obvious. The challenge for us has been to feel that we can maintain a compassionate and forceful presence against terror by day as well as by night. Behold the neighborhoods of South Minneapolis, encircled by 30,000 observers, trained in defiance, skilled in solidarity, each with phones and whistles because of terror in our streets. Last Sunday, while I was watching my nephew, I found myself in the midst of two very different text threads. First, Rabbi Joey notified me that a volunteer team was needed for a tahara in the morning. I pulled up the spreadsheet and I started contacting people. Then a parent from my nephew's daycare put out their daily call for volunteers to observe on the street and stand guard around the building. As I put my nephew to bed, the messages started to rhyme. Be there by 8 a.m. and check in with a lead. Gloves and personal protective equipment will be provided by the funeral home. High visibility vests and extra whistles are in a bin by the door. You may or may not know the names of the other people on your shift. You may or may not recognize the deceased. The most important thing you can bring is your presence. Just by being there, you are making a difference. Thank you for your participation in this mitzvah. Thank you for caring for our community. Thank you for caring for our community. Good night, beloved. It's perhaps a sad indicator of our chronic disempowerment that there is anything remarkable in all of this, that we are so unaccustomed to feeling like we can create security and dignity for one another that getting to do so is a volunteer opportunity, not our daily work. In the world I'd like to live in, pray God the world to come, the fabric of care, uniting those who care for children, defend the vulnerable, and bury the dead would be the common cloth of our everyday existence. But the tradition of Chevra Kadisha work reminds me that this has always been difficult for us. If we are prone to forgetting our mortality and overlooking how fragile our lives are, we are also prone to forgetting our vitality and overlooking what our strength can do. As I rose Monday morning and put on my vest and whistle, I thought of the Chevra volunteers who I knew were meeting at the funeral home to begin their work. I thought of my brother and sister-in-law down the street, feeding and dressing my nephew to drop him off at daycare before putting on their own whistles, like thousands of other parents and neighbors around us. I felt myself as one tiny thread in a vast net expanding across the city, and I felt a fierce pride in the sense that we were using our strength for what strength is for. We keep us safe. We also keep us dignified, strong, and beloved. One day, each of us will be washed and dressed and placed in a casket by loving hands. But until then, while we're still here, may we feel ourselves both protected by and part of a cordon of mutual aid and defense. May we never turn our backs on vulnerability, and may our days be long and filled with tender care. Shabbat Shalom.
I have the great honor of usually getting to give the drush out when I'm here on Friday nights, which is also, I am learning a survival mechanism that I am too teared up to to functionally read the brachot that our Zoom friends will be bringing to us. Jake, that was just totally gorgeous. Yesha koach. Now we get to bless as well as I'm capable at this very moment. You can find the words for our community blessing on the back of your blue sheet, and our friends from Zoom will be fueling us with additional words of bracha. Hamalach hagoheloti, hamalach hagoheloti, nikora, yivarech et hanearim, ve'yikra vehem shemi, v'shem avotai, Avraham ve'yitach, ve'yigdu larov, bekerev ha'aretz. Yismechem Elohim kesara, kerivka, kerachel, uchelea, ke'efraim, v'chi Menashe. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav elecha ve'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. May we use our strength for what strength is for. May all our threads weave a strong, beautiful fabric. May we bring dignity to the vulnerable, the very young, those at the end of life with us and our neighbors. May we keep us safe. May we use our strength for what strength is for. May we trouble and redeem the texts of our ancestors. May we be the heroes we've been asking for. May we keep caring for and with each other. May we continue to protect each other, whatever comes next. May we each get to experience loving protection and get to offer before the Chevra Kedisha cares for us. May we lean into rest as fiercely as we have leaned into our work together. May all of our children sleep without fear of violence. May all of our adults rest and rise again. May we weave together a talus of care over our communities through the threads of our daily actions. May we care for each other and accept the care that we all deserve. May we die with dignity. Ken yehi ratzon, yedidai, yadadai, yayo. Yedidai, yadadai, yayo. Yedidai, yayo. Yedidai. We'll begin to put a seal on our service. You can find the words of Aleinu on page 282. I invite folks to rise or roots. Make that 284. V'hashevota, v'hashevota, helevavecha, ki shechina, hi Elohim, V'hashevota, helevavecha, ki havaya, ya Elohim, V'nei Folks can take a seat. For the last several years, we've taken this moment before Mourner's Kaddish to acknowledge all of the loss of life on October 7th and since, everyone who has died in Israel, Palestine, and more broadly in this moment, everyone who is suffering and whose names that we don't know, who are suffering under the weight of systematic political violence here in the Middle East, around the world. We sing the words on the bottom of page 62 to know that this violence is not ended, that there is no ceasefire, that ICE is not yet off of our streets, that we will continue to remember those names. We will continue to be the peace that we need in this world. We'll sing on the bottom of page 62. Hoseh Shalom Bimromav Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel. We come towards Mourner's Kaddish. I'll read a list of names of folks who have died in our community in the last 30 days and folks who have died at the anniversary of this time in previous years. If you hear the name of anyone that you knew and loved and want to share just a sentence, just a few words of story, we would love to hear it. Jane Newman is ready with a microphone to find you. Feel free to wave Jane down. After I'm done reading these names, there will be an opportunity to bring other names that you didn't hear read today of folks that you loved. We're in the Shaloshim, the first 30 days since the death of Victor Emmanuel Diaz, Minnesota resident who died in detention in Texas. Alex Preddy, Jean Scott, wife of Steve Munzer, sister-in-law of Deborah Munzer Day, and aunt of Sam and Mina Doy. And Philip Bush, father of Janet Bush and father-in-law of Renee Tripany. We're in the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the death of Molly Bernstein, grandmother of Shep, Joe Casterjean, uncle of Eli Sherman, Charles Dumbroff, father of Jill Berlin, William Epstein, father of Barry Epstein, Eileen Fish, great-grandmother of Meredith Huff.
My Grammy was the matriarch of our whole family. She had 3 of her own biological children, and after her husband passed away, she then adopted her 3 stepchildren. So we had Jewish Brady Bunch. There were 2 Davids. And she worked as well, and then later had 10 grandchildren, one great that she got to meet. But she always made time for everyone and was that person who really listened so much more than they spoke, was incredibly kind, made Halloween costumes, figure skating costumes, would always step in and try and make peace in the family, often in ways that people didn't know about until very far in the future. Most notably, her paying for my mother to have her own phone line so that she and her own mother could stop arguing all the time. So she was just an incredibly kind woman, and I don't know how she did it all. Someone to look up to.
Edward Fishbane, father of Betty Fishbane. Sarah Alberts Freilich, great-grandmother of Sarah Glassman. Denise Gabriel, mother of Darcy.
My mom passed in 2015 before I started any toe towards Judaism at all, and she would have absolutely loved Shir Tikva.
Lenore Greenfield, grandmother of Sarah Greenfield. Helen Leon, grandmother of Laura Lipkin. Paul Lipkin, father of Laura Lipkin.
Paul Lipkin was a kind man who was a lawyer and did a lot of pro bono work for people who needed help.
Bertha Bracha Newberg, mother of Elaine Frankowski. Julia Pearl, mother of Harvey. William Porcorny, grandfather of Alex. Zenas Rakawasas, grandfather of Adona Martinka. Emilio Donato Reyes, grandfather of Sophia Wood. Anna Rosenthal, grandmother of Nancy Abramson. John F. Rothstein, brother of Robert and uncle of Jonah. Marilyn Sherman, great aunt of Tova Bear Gorman. John Paul Wallace, grandfather of Teddy Holt. May Zoffer, mother of Gail. Judy Fresco, mother of Dylan. Robert Fresco, father of Dylan. Are there any other names that folks would like to bring forward?
I wanted to bring the names of 5 other immigrants that have died in ICE custody since the start of the new year. Geraldo Lunas Campos, Paradila, Luis Beltran Yanes Cruz, Eber Sanchez Dominguez, and Luis Gustavo Nunez Caceres, as well as Keith Porter Jr., who was killed by ICE on New Year's Eve, and Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, who was killed by ICE in Chicago late last year.
I'll invite us to rise or root on page 294. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah be'alma divrach irute v'amlich malchute v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye toko beit Yisrael b'agala v'bisman karim v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemei Dekucha, Berechu, Ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Folks can be seated. Some quick announcements for us. First of all, thank you so much for everyone who made this service possible tonight. To Gordon, to Sam, to Kayla for the audible and setting up our oneg. For everyone who stepped in, to Usher for our wonderful musicians tonight. Thank you all so much. At the end of the service, please return the prayer book, taking out the blue sheet, taking out your little white sheet, and separating them on the table. You can find all of our Shir Tikva programming updates in our weekly e-news and on our website. Some quick things to know about. This coming Sunday, our Chevra Kadisha is gathering for our formal or not so formal Zion Adar celebration. If you're interested in the work of Chevra Kadisha, this is a great time and place to go. We'll be gathering at 3 p.m. Also, if you have questions about Chevra work, if you're interested in potentially taking on this mitzvah, please come and find myself or Jane or Jake, or maybe raise your hand if you're in the Chevra already. Woot, woot, woot. Find one of us. We'd love to talk. What? We will also have a training for new members in April. Do you have a date yet, Adele? No, okay. Well, we'll have a training for new members in April. Stay tuned for when that's happening. JAMI is closed this very weekend. B-Mitzvah tutoring will be happening over Zoom. Please know there are lots and lots of adult education classes. If you would like to learn with me, if you would like to learn with someone else, all of these things are possible. We just put out a batch of really excellent classes. We'll be adding a Shema class with Daniel, as I mentioned earlier in the service. experience I have as getting to administer our adult education classes is we keep on throwing out more classes at you, and people keep on wanting to learn, and it's kind of miraculous. So just thank you. Please continue to spread the word about our Yesod Mutual Aid Fund. While we do not fundraise on Shabbos, let people know, maybe after Shabbos. We are trying to raise $1 million to be able to give to our neighbors. And we have raised so much more than I thought was possible. Keep the word coming. That fund is going to be opening up soon to continue distributing money. Please keep the word spreading. Next week's Shabbat service will be mask recommended. If this isn't the best fit for you, please join us on Zoom. And a reminder that your community is here to support you, so please reach out to us rabbis if you encounter a life change, if you encounter just the hardness of living in this world right now. We are here. We would be so happy to talk and support you in that. And to activate the wider Shir Tekva network of support, getting you casseroles, getting you rides, what you need, you can find us. With that, we're going to bless some challah, some wine, and then the three of us are going to figure out what song we should close the service with.
Okay.
We got very close to planning a complete service.
Did you want to do this, or do you want to do something else?
Let's do it as a new group, maybe.
Okay.
Okay. You can find the blessing for wine on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, barei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra hekodesh, zecher l'tziyat mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta, im kol ha'amin, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Brucha at Shechina mekadeshet haShabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz petei avon. We're going to close out with a song that also comes from the liturgy of Tahara, the liturgy of washing bodies after death. And both the song that we began the service and the song that we're closing with were composed very recently in the last couple of months by friend of Shir Tikva, Rabbi Micah Shapiro. And Jane and Jake are going to be sharing a bunch of these songs on Sunday. So allow this as to be your formal preview.
הנפש והנשמה שלה והנשמה, הנפש והנשמה, הנפש והנשמה, צדיקים. הנפש והנשמה, הנפש והנשמה, הנפש והנשמה, צדיקים.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat